For those who maybe can't see it or are unable to access it, our poll questions are you here as a farmer, a farm service provider, an ag retailer, a researcher, something else? You can put that in chat if it's not accessible to you as a poll. If you're a farmer, we would love to know what you're producing. And the options we've provided are produce, dairy, meat, fiber, grain for human consumption, and grain for animal consumption. And then how many acres are you farming? We'll let this go for just another few seconds. Lisa and Amanda, it's unclear to me. Are you guys able to access the results, or we don't know yet?
Yeah, I can see them. So as soon as we end it, I can share what the results are.
Okay. Folks who've just joined, we are conducting a poll right now. We'll give you just a couple of moments to try to fill that out. There's 3 questions, very farmer focused, but we don't certainly don't want to ignore those of you who aren't farmers who have joined us today. So please go ahead and take part in that.
Okay, are we ready?
I think so.
Okay. So we have 78% of the people on the call are farmers, 22% are here for another reason. And we have 33% are grow produce, 33% meat, 11% fiber, and 22% grain for animal consumption. And we have 33% growing on less than an acre, 22% farming 11 to 25 acres, 22% 26 to 50 acres, and then 22% are farming over 500 acres.
Right.
So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, very much. And I love we're all about diversity, and we just did that right there. That's really great. Okay, next slide, please. So the heart of the matter is Mitch Hora, and I'm super excited to have him with us. I'm not kidding, folks. This man is a force of nature. I've been talking to him over the last couple of weeks, and I'm pretty sure he does not sleep. He's a 7th generation farmer from Washington, Iowa. He's the founder and CEO of Continuum Ag, which is a soil health data company. He also co-hosts Field Work, a podcast that provides space for frank, realistic discussions about the benefits and challenges of sustainable agriculture. On their 700-acre farm, the Horas are 40 years into no-till, 6 years into cover crops. They've experimented with relay cropping, interseeding, 60-inch corn, diverse crops, and more. And you're going to get to hear about a lot of those today. Continuum Ag works with ag clients around the world to quantify soil health metrics and integrate data layers into their topsoil tool, which results in unbiased regenerative management recommendations. The topsoil network spans 40 states and 12 countries and aims to help farmers as they navigate carbon markets, sustainability initiatives, and the implementation of soil health principles. And now I get the privilege of handing the talking stick over to Mitchell Hora. Thank you so much for being with us today, Mitch. Next slide.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Let's get into, giving a little bit of background on some of the things that we're working on, a couple of my quick takeaways for everyone on the call here today, but, happy to get to some questions too. So we're going to hammer through some slides. Elizabeth was worried that I've got 40 slides. I cut down to 40 slides. I have over 200 of them in this actual presentation. So, but let's hammer through a couple of them and get to some Q&A. So whoever's running the slides, just kind of keep on moving them, hammering them down. So already gave some of the update, so we can keep on from there. But I'm 7th generation on my family's farm, and yeah, been doing these things for a long time. The main point of the talk, obviously, we've got to keep pushing on these soil health principles. We're trying to get them to work as much as we can on our farm. You guys have seen those principles. The livestock piece is the one that we don't really have fully figured out on our farm yet. I live about 25 minutes off of the farm right now. So I'm not out there every day to be able to manage livestock. The livestock we're focused on are the microbes beneath our feet and the earthworms that we've got out there, except for when my neighbor's cows get out and they come on and eat my cover crop, but that's all right. But we've got some cool projects going on with like tracking pheasants and other nesting birds, monitoring other wildlife populations, stuff like that. So other things, to think about too, as we are, integrating livestock, it might be even more holistic than what we kind of think about in terms of rotational grazing and such, even though that would be awesome. Couple things to hit on here. Okay. So like in the intro, we're working on really pushing on the principles of soil health in terms of fitting within the context of our operation. Been using no-till since 1978. But really over the last couple of years, we've focused in on using the Haney soil health test. When I go back, yeah, stay there, stay here, stay here. So with the Haney test, okay, is definitely the thing that I encourage all of you guys to really keep pushing on. And with the challenge overall, the Haney test is a great tool to help to put some numbers behind what you're seeing on the farm. We started doing Haney testing in 2016 on our farm. And we've pulled thousands of them. I don't even know. But with the Haney test, we are seeing that we are changing our system from being a chemistry driven soil and system to a biologically driven system. Okay. By understanding that and getting some data, we've been able to reduce our synthetic fertilizer by 45%. I think our average phosphorus now is around 25 pounds of phosphorus going on. Our average nitrogen right now is about 130. Right now we range from 120 to 145 pounds of nitrogen that gets applied. Most of where we started was more like 220 to 240. That's where most of the neighbors are, if not even higher than that. Because the current rule of thumb for, we're Iowa, corn, soybean kind of stuff. And the rule of thumb is that it takes at least 1 pound of nitrogen to produce one pound of nitrogen to produce 1 bushel of corn. But most of that nitrogen is coming from the soil. We can quantify that. The link and stuff that I would recommend checking out to get more info, I saw the chat come through. The Regen Ag Lab is a great resource to be able to get some testing done. It's in Nebraska. There's a couple other labs that do it as well, but that's a quick one to look at. Reduced our pesticides like crazy too. We just don't need it with the cover crop. Ward Lab as well. Yep, Ward is another good one. So Regen Ag Lab, Ward Labs, and Brookside Labs are the main three that are most up to date on their protocols. But because we have all the cover crop, the residue and stuff out there, reducing pesticides like crazy as well, especially the residuals, we just don't need it. And you guys will see that as you keep pushing. We've improved our organic matter by 1.4% in the last 10 years. One of those fields was at 3.9% in 2010. And in 2020, we'd improved it to 5.3% whole field average. So really, crazy that we can see some of these changes in a 10-year period. And that, of course, is improving our ability to be able to get the yields that we want, dialing back on our synthetic fertilizer inputs and other expenses, still driving yields. Next slide on that. It's just being able to better understand working with Mother Nature, not against her. Another thing we've seen is that after just 3 years of cover crops on this farm, we've improved our water infiltrations. Now we can infiltrate 4 inches of rainfall in less than 5 minutes. And you see each of my breakdown on inch by inch. Like we want to reduce our impact on water quality issues or reduce our flooding issues and stuff. Let's get that rainfall into our soils, hold on to it, and use it later on in the season. We keep getting these, rainy springs. Right this year, it's been a little bit drier, but over the weekend we had 2 inches. A couple weeks ago, we had 3 inches in the day. So we are getting these rainfalls, and we need to be able to hold that water. All my neighbors have water standing on their fields right now. The ones that have tilled ground, they've got water standing. The corn is drowning out, and ours, it sinks right in. We were out there the other day. You don't even get mud on your boots when you're walking through the field. It's super awesome. But next, this is just being able to do a simple water infiltration ring There's YouTube videos and stuff you guys can look at for that. Wanted to hit on, we're having success because we're building a culture around conservation. Obviously, that's the whole point of the challenge and what you guys are doing in Maryland. But we've got to be able to really utilize those champions, people that are really leading, that are on the bleeding edge, and really be able to help to foster their knowledge to help others. In Washington County, where I'm at, there's farmers that have been using no-till for 60 years, and multiple farmers that have been using cover crops for more than 20 years. And it's being transparent amongst the farming community. It's allowing farmers to learn better from each other, allowing those farmers to be entrepreneurial too. A lot of farmers know that are now selling seed or doing consulting or growing cover crops, or a lot of farmers are diversifying with livestock and with other cash crops and stuff as well. And we're seeing a variety of those things on our side. But I think it's just being able to really foster that ethic of sharing and being open and building community around this. We can do it virtual and in person, and really be able to get this to work. But a key thing to keep in mind here, as you guys are growing and implementing, it is a long process. And you can hear about our whole story on our podcast and check it out, fieldworktalk.org. There's videos and other materials and stuff on there too. But this has been a 60-year kind of thing. And I think now it's only like 20 some percent of the fields in the county are using cover crops. And it's like, I think we're getting closer to 75% is no-till. But point being is we still got a long way to go. Now, Washington County has tripled the cover crop acreage versus any other county in Iowa. So it's still very much a hotbed. We have a long way to go. And it's really only the last couple of years that it's really taken off. There are some cost share dollars available through the state of Iowa. A first-time cover crop user can get $25 per acre. After that, you can get $15 per acre to use cover crops. However, we are limited to only being able to enroll 160 acres. So that's how they spread the wealth a little bit. I know in Maryland, you guys have some significant opportunities. A key thing is making sure that those dollars are being utilized appropriately. It is more than just money, but we're running businesses here. It's got to be profitable. It's got to work. The first lab was the Regen Ag Lab. And there you go. It's got to be profitable. How we're doing that is I'm planting a cover crop that my average cost on the cover crop is like $8 an acre. It is not expensive. Mostly ahead of soybeans, we're using cereal rye at typically 40 to 45 pounds per acre drilled in after corn. And then ahead of corn, we're using 20 pounds of cereal rye, 20 pounds of winter wheat, and 3 pounds of hairy vetch. That's our base program. And we're doing the crazy interseeding and stuff like that. We'll show some pictures on, but that's kind of our base program that we're doing. Making money then by reducing the inputs, reducing the pesticides, still driving yields. We actually were able to, we upgraded tractors, but downsized the size of the tractor. Went from Magnum 290 to a Magnum 240. We just don't need the horsepower anymore. We don't need to burn that much fuel. We can get better, more fuel efficient technology that has the updated electronics and tools that we want. But we just don't need all the horsepower anymore. So putting more dollars back in our pocket has really been helpful.
All right, Mitchell, we got 10 minutes, just so you're
Yeah.
aware.
So let's get to kind of some questions and stuff. But last couple of slides here, you guys know, I mean, it's about connecting with the consumers. This is our overall business model. And at a later time, you guys can check out Topsoil and what we actually do with Continuum Ag. But next. And so many opportunities, to look at with carbon, water quality markets, water quality quantity markets. Nutrient density is going to be huge. At this point, I don't encourage farmers to actually enroll in any carbon markets right now. I think we need to let the dust settle a little bit. We need to fix additionality and fix some of the rules, but that's a rabbit hole that we cannot get into. So, let's just do, I think that's all I really wanted to hit on, just multiple things to be looking at, kind of some overall takeaways on things that we're seeing on our farm. I've got to go. My wife is here to pick me up.
He's not leaving. He's not leaving us. He's just leaving, changing locations.
No, yeah, I'm not leaving you guys. So why don't let's do a couple questions, and you guys can just toggle through some of my pictures and stuff here, and everyone can kind of see what it looks like on our operation and some of the things that we're doing. But happy to take some questions. You guys have my contact info and stuff, or we can get that passed along.
Mitch, someone has asked what the cover crop mix ratio was.
On a head of corn, it's been 20 pounds of cereal rye, 20 pounds of winter wheat, and 3 pounds of hairy vetch. Okay, we're doing that because we don't want our C to N ratio to be too high ahead of corn and tie up too much nutrients and get too much carbon out there. So we can run into some issues that way. So we've been utilizing winter wheat ahead of corn. Winter wheat is not quite as aggressive. It still overwinters really well, especially in Maryland. You guys would have no problem. But it's not as aggressive to be able to manage ahead of getting that corn out there. Very easy to kill, grows quick. So we still get the benefits, but not some of the negatives of a cereal rye crop getting massive on us and getting out of control. Then we're blending in a little bit of hairy vetch, a little bit of crimson clover to fix some organic nitrogen for us. But what we're finding, we added back in the rye into that blend here this year because we're finding that we are cycling nutrients so quickly and decomposing residue so quickly that we actually have to get more carbon going into the system, because even that wheat cover crop, the rye cover crop, our microbes and our worms are eating it so quick. In the last 5 years, we've more than tripled our biological activity in our farms. We've almost tripled our water extractable carbon, which is the readily available microbe food. So what we're doing to really stimulate that, I think some of the next couple of pictures are planting corn too. So.
And Mitch, while you're talking about that, somebody has asked about how you terminate your cover crops and how your yields compare to surrounding farms.
Yeah, so we were running some of the yield analytics right now. I think our yields overall are about 20 to 25% above county average. Right now, our average has been, I mentioned that 130 to 140 pounds of actual nitrogen applied. Our whole farm average for corn yields is about 225 bushel the acre corn. On our soybeans don't really get any fertilizer at all. We don't need it. They're getting the fertilizer from the cereal rye. We plant beans into green rye, like some of those pictures we're showing. This is our corn planter and the setup here, planting into cover crop that's 10 or so inches tall, 10 to 12 inches tall. And then on corn, we terminate it usually a week or so after. So we finished planting this year on May 1st. Everything was terminated within like 7 to 9 days or so afterwards. But on the soybeans, we plant soybeans into cereal rye, and none of the cover crop has been terminated there. We're looking at maybe next week we terminate our cover crop on the cereal rye when it gets too dry. But this year it was really dry, but now we're getting rain, and we're very glad that we did not get too antsy. Let the cover crop and the soybeans grow together. Now the cover crop is starting to head out. It's going to start dropping pollen. That's when we'll go in. We'll hit it with just a quarter Roundup, and that's it. We're going to have a one-pass herbicide program on the soybeans. No residuals, no nothing. We're looking at spending like $6 an acre total on our herbicides. No need to spend the money. We're spending the money on buy the cover crop seed, let it work, and let Mother Nature take care of itself.
So Mitch, if I understood you correctly, you do a corn and soy, and what were the other things in your rotation?
So this year we will have part of, we mentioned earlier, this is taken just a couple days ago, of that cover crop dying down and the corn coming through it. Beautiful seed bed. But last year we had corn, soybeans, malt barley was a winter barley, and then we double crop soybeans after it. We had some mustard last year as well. That was just a single species mustard that we grew for seed. And then we will relay crop with either wheat or mostly with cereal rye. So we'll plant the rye in the fall. We're only going at a bushel to the acre, which is probably kind of light for some of you guys that are on the call, but we're only going to a bushel the acre. Then we drill our soybeans into it, like some of the photos earlier. bushel the acre in the fall after corn harvest, drill soybeans into it on the first couple of days of April or 1st of May, last couple of days of April, 1st of May, drilled in at normal planting population, about 160,000 plants per acre. But we are drilling in a super full season soybean. The rule of thumb is a full maturity group longer than your typical. For us, we're going with a 3.6 to a 3.8, 3.8 maturity soybean. Drill the soybeans into the cover crop. Those beans are coming up. They're about an inch and a half tall right now, just planted a week and a half ago into cover crop. And we will not use any herbicide on that cover crop at all. We'll actually come back in July and we will harvest the rye over the top of the soybeans and basically just give it a haircut. We're using our normal soybean platform, fat tires on the combine, running over soybeans. Those beans are like knee high. On July 10th is when we did it last year. We harvested 30 bushel of rye and we came back and those beans did 68 bushel the acre soybeans. We had a replicated strip trial going on. We were within 1 bushel of our normal soybeans that we did our herbicide program on. Meaning, let the cover crop, especially the rye, ahead of soybeans, let them grow together. That's where we can really hammer on building our aggregates, building soil health, sequestering carbon, suppressing weeds, and then even to be able to harvest it. If we're going to do all this cover crop stuff, the seed has to come from somewhere. And as farmers, we might as well grow it. And we're utilizing that seed right now for our own uses on our own farm. We've done 10 acres of that production the last couple of years. Like I said, at 10 acres at 30 bushel the acre, that gets me enough for not quite half a bushel per acre then when I need to go and apply it on my 700 acres. So we have to go and purchase some more from the retailer. But now this year we're scaling that to 40 acres and getting into a position where we can potentially start selling some of it.
Mitch, we're closing in on it. You intersect with a lot of different kinds of farmers and folks who work with farmers. I'm curious about two things, and I don't know if you can answer both in the time we have left, but one, kind of what's on your horizon? What do you want to do next?
Yeah, great.
And what about farmers who aren't necessarily grain farmers? How do you frame this kind of conversation for folks who aren't growing grain?
Yeah, transparency. No matter what you're in, livestock, crop, whatever, vegetable produce, it's connecting better with the consumer. COVID has probably actually even helped us a little bit in that. And people needing to know where their food's coming from and having that sense of security. But we have to be able to have our story well packaged. We need to have our data all pulled together. We got to have our ducks in a row. So we are really trying to help farmers to navigate all these different carbon initiatives and other sustainability initiatives. There's 1,012 of them out there. It's insane. Super hard to try to navigate. We have a tool that we built within our Topsoil platform. Topsoil is totally free if anyone wants to get it checked out, totally free to get started. But we've got kind of a navigation tool in there so you can kind of directly compare some of the main carbon markets that are out there today. We are involved in piloting out some carbon markets, helping to better understand how do we quantify carbon, how do we better create something that can really create long-term value and a new sellable asset as farmers. But the data collection has to be easier. It's got to be cheaper. Getting verified's got to be easier. Hopefully, that might be a spot where the government's going to play a little bit of a role. Maybe they're going to help this, or they might just screw it all up too. So overall, though, learn about how to dial in at what you can control on your farm. That's what this boils down to. And really my vision for the future. I would love to have some of these opportunities really come through and put real dollars in the hands of us as family farmers so we can invest in our farms and our rural communities and all that. I think there's going to be some opportunities come. I really hope there will. I think we're getting some of the right people to the table to help us to really make that happen. But no matter what, as farmers, we need to better control the things that we can control. I can control where I'm spending money on seed, where I'm spending money on fertilizer, on pesticides, on equipment, on fuel. We have to just better take a look back at our farms every once in a while, understand what's happening, and utilize data to educate ourselves as much as possible. But really, it's what's the goal? Where do you want to be? One of the things that Dad and I have done is we put together a 7-year plan for the farm. Don't just look a couple years out, look multiple years. There's harvesting the rye over the top of the beans. That's what it looks like. But being able to look more holistically, understanding where you want to be, and then implementing the steps to get there. I think that's huge. Keep me in the loop. Happy to help as much as we can. And there's some really good opportunities I think here coming for farmers. But we have to be in a position to say yes, but don't jump the gun too soon in saying yes. Navigating and just understanding what's the goal for your farm. Remembering that our role as farmers is to be the shepherd of, that's kind of how I approach it. We're the shepherds of God's creation. We need to continue to implement and do things as smart as we can. And if there's dollars to help us do it, sweet. Because this is a long journey, but there's some real opportunity ahead. It's very, very exciting.
That's terrific. Let me remind folks and also just put in a plug for the podcast that Mitch and his buddy Zach co-host. It's really phenomenal. There's an archive in there you'll not want to miss, and then all the new and upcoming information that's being exchanged on that. And also a lot of what Mitchell is saying is happening via MDA and NRCS here in Maryland and the Million Acre Challenge. We are looking to try to get dollars in farmers' pockets for the right kinds of practices that allow for the kinds of long-term sustainability that Mitch has been talking about. So we're excited to work with you and all of the farmers on the call and the service providers on the call. And yeah, let's stay in touch. Thank you so much, Mitchell. You didn't even have to get in your car.
No, I know, but on here, my wife's going to kill me.
All right. Well, we won't let her blame us. So get out of here. Thank you.
Appreciate everyone being on. I know there's some questions in the chat. I'm trying to get a couple of them in, but mostly definitely corn and soybeans, about half and half. And then we mix in some of the other stuff. Was that one question? But yeah, I mean, we've got all kinds of stuff online, and you guys have my contact info. So we can talk to all you soon.
Yeah, we'll get you back for something longer. We've got a handful of folks that we're sort of saying we want you back for a whole day or a half day workshop. So
I'll come out to Maryland. I was in North Carolina here just a couple weeks ago, so should have popped over.
Well, next time definitely swing by.
One last shameless plug: our field day is on June 7th. We will have a live stream of all of it. I don't expect all of you to come, but you can definitely come if you'd like. But it will be live streamed as well. Definitely encourage you to. We'll have it blasted all over our social and stuff, and maybe you gals can get it passed along to the group here too.
June 7th, and is it linked on your website?
Yeah, it's on the events page on our website.
Great, awesome.
Cool.
Mitch, I can't thank you enough. Like I said, he pretty much goes at a run, so I picture you now just running out to apologize to your wife.
She'll be. All right, thanks everyone. I will run though.
Thank you. Take care. Have a great day, everyone.